القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Sura Al-Tawba, verse 41. انفروا خفافا وثقالا. We are talking about the Battle of Tabuk, where a big army left Medina toward Tabuk to confront the Roman army. انفروا means go forth, go for jihad. خفافا وثقالا. Khifaf is the plural of khafif, meaning light. Thiqal is the plural of thaqil, meaning heavy. Whether lightly or heavily, go forth. Whether you have obstacles which make you heavy, unable to move fast. For example, you have farms and gardens that you must take care of. And now that the Prophet has called you to war, you have to leave them. It's difficult for you, it's an obstacle. So you are thaqil, you are heavy. Or you have many children, a big family. Or you may be khafif, meaning that you don't have so many occupations here to make you busy. Or probably you don't have enough money, so again it makes you heavy and thaqil. If you don't have enough money to support your journey toward Tabuk, your provision, your animal to ride. So they are all obstacles, but these obstacles must not stop you from joining the war. انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم. Do jihad with your wealth and with your lives. في سبيل الله, in Allah's way. ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. It is better for you if you understand, if you know. لو كان عرضا قريبا وسفرا قاصدا لاتبعوك. This is the excuse made by hypocrites, munafiqeen. The distance was long from Medina to Tabuk. And it was not clear who will win the war, because they were going to fight the army of one of the biggest dynasties of their time, one of the biggest empires of their time, and that is the Roman Empire. لو كان عرضا قريبا, if it was an accessible gain. Arad means the gain of this world which is transitory, which does not last. So the gain. Qarib means something which is near. So if it was accessible. In some wars, the chance of victory was high, and the war itself was not that difficult, because they were going to probably fight a small tribe who had attacked Medina. But now it is not close, it is not near. لو كان عرضا قريبا, if it was an accessible gain. وسفرا قاصدا, if it was a moderate journey. Qasid means moderate. It means not a long journey. If it was not a long journey, لاتبعوك, they would have followed you. This is the way they express. They say, if it was like that, we would have followed you. ولكن بعدت عليهم الشقة. But the distance is too far to them. Shuqqa means al-masafa, the distance. It comes from mashaqqa, because traversing a distance and a path has difficulties. Mashaqqa means difficulty, hardship. For this reason, masafa, the distance itself, is called shuqqa. Shuqqa means the distance, بعدت عليهم, looked so far to them. وَسَيَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ لَوْ اسْتَطَعْنَا لَخَرَجْنَا مَعَكُمْ. They swear by Allah that if we could, we would have gone forth with you. We would have joined you. يُهْلِكُونَ أَنفُسَهُمْ. They destroy themselves. They ruin their souls. Because if this is the logic, that we are ready to do something for God, provided that it is not difficult, the distance is not long, the gain is accessible. So this is not the right way of obedience. It is in loss. It will not end in their happiness. On the contrary, it will cause their ultimate failure. So يُهْلِكُونَ أَنفُسَهُمْ, with this way of thinking. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ لَكَاذِبُونَ, and God knows that they are liars. Even if the situation was ready, still they would have not followed the Prophet. So this oath, they are swearing by Allah, this oath is not true as well. It is a false oath. عَفَى اللَّهُ عَنْكَ, may Allah pardon you. This is a dua, supplication for the Prophet. لِمَا أَذِنْتَ لَهُمْ, why did you give them permission? حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا, before it was evident, before it became evident for you those who tell the truth, وَتَعْلَمَ الْكَاذِبِينَ, and those who are liars. This ayah may be considered by some readers as a criticism of what the Prophet did, as if God is blaming the Prophet for giving them permission. Allama Tabatabai says, if you reflect on this verse and also the coming verses, you shall realize that this is not to criticize the Prophet's act. The purpose of this ayah is to say that in case you didn't give them permission, everybody would have known very clearly that they were liars. So this fact is highlighted by this ayah. But does it mean that the Prophet's decision to give them permission was not good, and it was better to let them join Muslim armies and to make them and to force them join the Muslim army? The coming verses reject it, because in the coming verses we have an ayah which says, if they had joined you, they would have caused corruption in your army. They would have caused failure for you. So it was better not to let them join. And to accept their excuse was the better decision. It was indeed the best decision made by the Prophet. Even the Prophet did not need to test them this way, because the Prophet already knew who was telling the truth and who was lying. Because again, another verse which comes later shows that there were some indications that they were not ready for the war. Because a person who has the intention to join, but there are some obstacles, at least he does some preparation for the war. They did not prepare anything. So it shows that they had no intention to support the Prophet in the war. And it was clear for the Prophet. So the purpose of this verse is not even to make something clear for the Prophet himself. The Prophet already knew. But ayah says that in case they were not granted a permission, their telling lie would have become so evident for everybody. لا يستأذنك الذين يؤمنون بالله. Now, ayah divides Muslims and the Islamic community into true believers and the hypocrites. Ayah says, those who have belief in Allah and the Day of Judgment, they don't come to you to ask for permission to be exempted. They don't ask for permission. And يُجَاهِدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ, to be exempted from jihad by their wealth and their souls. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالْمُتَّقِينَ. And God knows the pious. إِنَّمَا يَسْتَأْذِنُكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. So who do take permission? إِنَّمَا, only. إِنَّمَا indicates exclusivity. Only those who don't believe in God and the Day of Judgment, and those whose hearts are in doubt. وَارْتَابَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. They have doubt. فَهُمْ فِي رَيْبِهِمْ يَتَرَدَّدُونَ. So they waver in their doubt. These people, only these people, يَسْتَأْذِنُكَ. They ask for permission. وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا الْخُرُوجَ لَأَعَدُّوا لَهُ عُدَّةً. I says, had they really wanted to go forth, if they had a real intention to join you in the battle, لَأَعَدُّوا لَهُ عُدَّةً. They would have made some preparation for it, but they had not done anything. So it shows that they were liars. When they said, لَوْ اسْتَطَعْنَا لَخَرَجْنَا مَعَكُمْ, if we could, we would have joined you. No, that was a lie. وَلَكِنْ كَرَهَ اللَّهُ بَعَثَهُمْ. But God disliked their inba'ath. Inba'ath means to quickly do something, to move toward doing something. So God didn't like that. God didn't like them to join you, to come with you. So God prevented them by discouraging them. Tathbit means to discourage someone and dissuade him not to do something. وَقِيلَ اقْعُدُوا مَعَ الْقَاعِدِينَ. And it was said, be seated with those who sit back. قَاعِدِينَ is a title, refers to those who are not able to join the war. Because normally women, children, or those people who have disabilities, they could not participate in wars. So they were قَاعِدِينَ, they sit back. قِيلَ اقْعُدُوا مَعَ الْقَاعِدِينَ. It was said, you be seated with them. Who said it? And what is meant by it is said? Allama Tabatabai says, this is amr. It is a command from God. But amr takween, this is an existential command by God. So there is no contradiction between two opposite commands. In the beginning of this page, we had انفروا خفافا وثقالا. So there was a command to go for the war, to join the army. So that was a command by God. Now here it says, be seated, don't join. They are opposite each other. But there is no contradiction, because that one is the legislative command, means the responsibility, the obligation every person has. All Muslim community, the community of believers, all of them, they have this obligation to defend Islam, especially at that crucial moment when the entire Islamic community was in danger of being obliterated by the big army of Romans. So they had the obligation, and God had decided that every believer must join in this protection. But what happens in the external world, in reality, sometimes it's different from what the person is obliged to. Many people, they have responsibilities, but they don't act upon them. They don't implement them. A person who commits a sin, he is violating a law made by God. So he is acting against Allah's command. But still, his act of committing sin is not out of and beyond Allah's control. So everything, even the sins committed by people, everything done in this world is by Allah's will and by His permission. So ultimately, everything has a connection to God, because without His will, it is impossible. The person who kills an innocent is committing a sin, but this is done again by Allah's power given to this person and the freedom given to this person. So it can be said that it is finally by Allah, whatever a person does. So, اقعدوا مع القائدين here is the sin that these people are committing. But again, it is by an existential command. I mean, what happens in the real world. It means that what they did was not beyond Allah's power. But it is presented in the passive form. It didn't say, قال الله اقعدوا. No, قيل. It was said. It isn't God said. Because it was better to avoid direct attribution of something which is against Allah's command to God. So it was better to say قيل instead of قال الله. And what is the reason behind this existential command, this amr takwini? One, it was a punishment because of their misdeeds. When the person repeatedly commits sins, he reaches to a point where he will be deprived from mercies. And one of the mercies is to have tawfiq of obedience. So he is deprived from the mercy of obedience. So this is one punishment because of their previous sins. And second point, it was a mercy to believers because, as the next ayah explains, their participation in the battle would have caused big failure to Muslims. So it was better to discourage them. I mean, by God, I mean. It was better that God made them have this decision and make this decision not to participate in the battle. It was indeed a service to the believers' community. لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. Khabal means corruption. ولا أوضعوا خلالكم. أوضعوا comes from إيضاع. إيضاع means to go fast toward evil. لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. This ayah says, if they had gone forth with you, if they had joined you in the battle, ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. They could have not added except your troubles. And they would have moved fast toward evil, toward failure, corruption. يبغونكم الفتنة. They want fitna for you. They want defeat and suffering and failure for you. وفيكم سماعون لهم. Now they are left in Medina. But still, فيكم, in you, in the army right now, there are some who are سماعون لهم, who listen to them, to whatever they say. So you have some people whose hearts are not with you, but they are with them. والله عليم بالظالمين. لقد ابتغوا الفتنة من قبل. And this is not the first time. This I want to say. This is not the first time that they have the tendency to bring failure to you. ابتغوا, it means they had sought, they had looked for fitna for you before. They had sought your defeat, your suffering before. For example, in the Battle of Uhud. Now we are talking about Tabuk in the last years of the Prophet's life. But Uhud, in the first years of the Prophet's hijrah to Medina, what Abdullah ibn Ubay did was an example of fitna. Because an army of about 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, Muslims were ready to leave Medina for Uhud to fight. In the way, Abdullah ibn Ubay spoke to some of them, and he managed to change the minds of around 300 soldiers. So they went back to Medina. They did not accompany the Prophet. وَقَلَّبُوا لَكَ الْأُمُورِ. They overturned the matters for you. So they did espionage. They gave the secret information to the enemy. They prevented Muslims to go for jihad and for supporting the Prophet. They encouraged the Jews and the idol worshippers in Mecca to start wars against the Prophet. حتى جاء الحق وظهر أمر الله, until the truth came and Allah's matter became evident. وهم كارهون, while they did not like. ومنهم من يقول ائذن لي ولا تفتني. This ayah is about another group of hypocrites, munafiqeen. Some of them, they say to you, give me permission, exempt me from war, ولا تفتني, and don't put me to fitna. What is fitna? Two possibilities here. Fitna, either temptation or failure and suffering. Don't put me to fitna, according to the first possibility, means that when you urge me to war, I think about the booties of the war, the gains of this world. And this is a temptation of shaitan, trying to attract me to this life and distract me from the hereafter. So by urging me to war, you are indeed inviting me to be attached to this world. So exempt me from the war so that I don't think about these worldly gains. Or the second possibility, fitna, meaning suffering and hardship, difficulty, failure. لا تفتني, don't put me to fitna, meaning that you know that joining the war has many difficulties and hardships, and I'm not able to tolerate that. So please give me permission. I rest at home and I don't join you. ألا في الفتنة سقطوا. Both possibilities can be true. ألا في الفتنة سقطوا. Ayah says they are already in fitna. He's taking precaution not to fall in fitna. But he is already in fitna, or they are already in fitna. Because if they are afraid of being tempted by shaitan, they are already tempted. Because now the obligation of jihad is being neglected by them, and it is a sin. It is a grave sin. So they are already tempted by shaitan. They are deceived by shaitan. And if they are afraid of fitna in the sense of suffering, they are in suffering, they are in loss. They may not realize now, but they are indeed right now in that failure. Because the person who commits this grave sin deprives himself from the ultimate happiness. So he is in loss. وَإِنَّ جَهَنَّمَ لَمُحِيطَةٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ. Hell, Jahannam, has ihata, means encompasses. It may talk, according to some exegetes of the Quran, about the future, that in the day of judgment, disbelievers, sinners, wrongdoers will go to Jahannam and they will be surrounded by flames of fire. But Allama says we can interpret it in the present tense, not the future tense, because ayah says la muhitatun, doesn't say it will be muhita. No, it is now muhit. So even now it encompasses. So they are in hell right now, but they don't realize it. It is in connection with the concept of embodiment of actions, tajassum al-a'mal. That in the day of judgment, what happens is we see the realities of our acts. So the person who is committing a sin is in pain, but the pain is not sensed in this world because of our limitation. But in the day of judgment, our limitations are removed. So we feel the pain that we are already in. إِن تُصِبْكَ حَسَنَةٌ تَسُؤْهُمْ. If a good thing comes to you, and in this context, because we are talking about the war and the fights, so hasana and musiba here, the good thing, the bad things, must refer to the failure and defeat or victory in the war. So if you are victorious, and tusibka hasanatun, so you win the war and you defeat the enemy and you gain some booties, tasu'hum, it makes them sad. وَإِن تُصَبْكَ مُصِيبَةٌ, But if a calamity befalls you and you lose the war, يَقُولُونَ قَدْ أَخَذْنَا أَمْرَنَا مِنْ قَبْلِ. They say, we already had taken our precaution. So they show that they had made the best decision not to join the war. وَيَتَوَلَّوْا, and they turn away, وَهُمْ فَرِحُونَ, while they are happy. قُلْ لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا مَوْلَانَا. But this is the Quranic logic here. Say, we are not to decide for ourselves. We have left our wilayah to God. Indeed, our wilayah is in God's hand. God did not leave our wilayah to ourselves. Our guardianship is not left to ourselves. We don't see ourselves to decide, or even we don't see these external causes, these asbab that look like the real causes, the real cause. We don't put our trust in them. Okay, we know that they have some causation, but everything is by God. He is the ultimate cause, and He is the one who decides. So whatever He decides, we submit to it. If it is musibah, we know it is good because it is from God. If it is hasana, it is good. So we enjoy it, and we know that it is from God. Even if there is musibah and we suffer, still we know that it is good because decision is made by God. لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ. Nothing comes to us, befalls us, except what God has decreed. Kataba means what has written, what He has decreed. هُوَ مَوْلَانَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. In Allah, the believers must put their trust. The next ayah says that whatever happens is good. قُلْ هَلْ تَرَبَّصُونَ بِنَا إِلَّا إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. What do you await for us? Do you await anything except one of the two good things? Husna means excellent, good thing. One of the two excellent things. So you await something happens to us, but whatever happens is good. Because either we shall win the war, which is clearly good, or we shall lose the war and be killed, injured, lose our wealth. But now we are rewarded by God, especially the martyr will be given the best of rewards. So it is an excellent thing. Whether we die or not, whether we lose or win, it is husna. وَنَحْنُ نَتَرَبَّصُ بِكُمْ. But what do we await for you? أَنْ يُصِيبَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابٍ مِّنْ عِنْدِي أَوْ بِأَيْدِينَا. One of the two bad things. Either you will win the war, but will be punished by God because of this grave sin that you committed, because of killing the believers. So يُصِيبَكُمُ اللَّهُ. God will touch you with a punishment from Himself. So that is a divine punishment. Or بِأَيْدِينَا, with our hands, means punishment by our hands means to lose the war. So if you lose the war and you are defeated, that is also something evil for you. فَتَرَبَّصُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ مُتَرَبِّصُونَ. So wait, we also are waiting with you. قُلْ أَنْفِقُوا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا لَنْ يُتَقَبَّلَ مِنْكُمْ. Say, do infaq, spend, willingly or unwillingly. لَنْ يُتَقَبَّلَ. It will not be accepted from you. Why? Because أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ. You were transgressors. You had fisq. Another ayah, Surah Al-Ma'idah says, إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Every act will be only accepted from the pious. And you are fasiq. Fasiq is opposite pious. The next ayah explains their fisq. Why do you call them fasiq? وَمَا مَنَعَهُمْ أَن تُقْبَلَ مِنْهُمْ نَفَقَاتُهُم. Nothing caused their infaq and spending not to be accepted except this point. So this is the reason that it was not accepted. أَنَّهُمْ كَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ. They actually are not believing in Allah and the Prophet. وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الصَّلَاةَ إِلَّا وَهُمْ كُسَالَى. They don't perform prayer except lazily. They don't have any interest in performing salah. وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَ إِلَّا وَهُمْ كَارِهُونَ. They don't spend and give charity except with reluctance. كَارِهُونَ. They don't like. But now that They are living with Muslims and they have to act as Muslims. They perform these obligations, but they don't have any interest in performing them. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.